Than just the 14 weeks of Michaelmas term beyond the long summer pre-season. This match has been ticking from the day after last year's event when the dark blue pack of course pulverised their opposite numbers from the word go to set the stall out for that fourth successive success. Revenge, retribution, rehabilitation, pride, all will have been swirling through the Cambridge camp since then. This encounter passionate enough that the opposition cannot be named, but which blue will have enough today to put one over the other place? Well, Jacob Taylor is Oxford's new captain. The Aussie 7-star is one of 8 starters from last year. There's another 4 promoted from that particular bench. There's a new fly half in George Cullen. He'll have the dynamic Sam Edgerton as his feed. Then number 9, obviously hoping he can make the headlines for the right reasons in 2014, as of course he did in 2012. It's the same front row as last year, but the engine room has a slightly different look to it. At the back, George Messam charged with replacing the hallowed John Carter at number 8, Gus Jones and Fraser Heathcote, his able lieutenants. Cambridge coach Andy Key has reinstated half the pack to right those wrongs from last year. They're augmented by the return after 7 years of Richard Bartholomew on the flank. Jacob Polton, 20 years old, asked to shore things up at tight head. Skipper Harry Peck and Don Stevens are a very able and experienced pair of halfbacks, heading a backline with plenty of pace and guile, particularly with the likes of Toby May, this year wearing the number 13 jersey, and the Scottish flyer George Smith on the left wing. Well, there's 16 young men there hoping they will get their chance. For 10 of them, they'll be first footing into the varsity. Ralph Weir is one. He only found out yesterday he was going to take part today. Well, there is the contract signed by both captains to play today. Of course, very pertinent and poignant this year. Well, for many, it's hard to remember Oxford BC before Carter. So this is a new era for the Dark Blues, a new era that could make history with the 5th victory on the bounce. But for Cambridge, they have to clear their minds and keep a sharp focus on their game plan. It's all about the here and now, the unity of the team, the desire, the skills of each individual, about to be put to their sternest test in front of their biggest ever audience. And now for the national anthem sung by Rob Stephen from King's College, Cambridge, and from Queen's College, Oxford, Rosie Miller.
Our thanks go to Eddie Butler and Rifleman Rhys Loudon from the Band and Bugles of the Rifles. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please remain standing for the national anthem, which will be led by Robert Stephen from King's College, Cambridge, and Rosie Miller from the Queen's College, Oxford.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save
So the formalities done. Rob Stephen, singing from King's College 2 years ago, was actually wearing the light blue number 15 jersey. Tyrone Howe, you wore the Oxford blue jersey, what, 20 years ago now, but I'm sure you can remember the adrenaline rush that those guys are going through. They've gone out thinking they're Superman. They've got to now reflect and concentrate on remembering their rugby players within the rugby plan that they've set out.
I think they'll be relieved with the starting whistle here to actually get on with what they're here to do, and that's play rugby. But it's amazing, you're always aware of that little role and niche in history that you're creating by taking part in a varsity match, and you know the impact of what's just happened certainly will not be lost on the players. Particularly poignant, interesting from my point of view. The school that I'm a housemaster at, Uppingham School, has 3 pupils on or 3 students on that list, 3 ex-Blues. And
okay, Oxford,
it's also extraordinary. We think those 3 Uppingham Blues were 3 of 447 others who actually lost their lives in World War I. So enormously poignant, but this is what the players will want to do now. Just get rid of the nerves and get on with the game.
Time on, please, Mike.
Well, this, the oldest rugby match outside the Calcutta Cup, kicking off for its 133rd episode. The tally so far reads Oxford 57, Cambridge 61, with 14 of those matches where they were unable to separate the sides. Joe Roth memorably mentioned that it was a whole bunch of pre-season games followed by a grand final, and really both teams will have to look to settle themselves down to ignore those mental fireworks, and Harry Peck will not be wanting to see that start from his boot.
Well, an early mistake. One of the things that's difficult with all the things that go on before a game is actually keeping your concentration, and a little lapse there from Cambridge, and Oxford will be very keen to try and get off to a flyer here.
Nick Gardner with the first line out of the day, hits his man, and the pack come round to form an attacking phalanx inside the Cambridge 22 for the first time they go. This, of course, an absolutely critical area, especially with those memories from last season. And work it to the drive around the fringe, just looking early doors to pull those fringe defenders in a bit before they look for gaps out wide. Certainly Oxford will be keen to get quick ball and wide ball where they can, but not knock it on like it is there.
Well, you can see the Cambridge players all coming in, lots of pats on heads and on backs. They coped very, very well with the driven line out there. Oxford immediately just trying to reignite the doubts from last year, physically taking them on. We saw what happened in the first scrum last year. It was all about Oxford. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this one.
Well, the line out worked very well for Oxford on that occasion, but now first scrum and a huge psychological swing, you suspect, from the engagement of this. 818 kilos Oxford University, 102 kilos a man, but 861 now from Cambridge, so that's a 5.5 kilo advantage per man. And the memories of last year will be flooding back right now. Safe ball though for the Light Blues. Toby May happy to try and do the hard yards for his team to get them away from that 22. Peck and Stevens. Stevens showing great ambition from his own 22. The South African number 10, who didn't make it past the half-hour mark last year, already stamping his mark and intent on this game. Peck gets the call from his forwards.
No, leave, lost.
This time it's May stepping in and hanging one high. Safe take from Jacob Taylor. Always good for the fullbacks to get their mitts on the ball early on. Oh, great take in the air from Sam Allen. Well, acrobatics, gymnastics, this is rugby union.
Well, it was a superb take, but did make it slightly more complicated for himself. You see Stevens looking for that half gap, and that will keep the Oxford fringe defence honest. They're going to have to look after him first of all before thinking about what goes on outside.
What are you in, Oxford? Okay, well, we need to come to the line
Well, the varsity engagements, the encounters so far are 2 apiece, with Cambridge having won the colleges and the 60 club against the Greyhounds, Oxford having won the 2 under-21s games.
Dragging on the arm down.
Should mention Scott Annett, the Northern Ireland second row for Cambridge, won a varsity encounter at the 11th time of asking for the 60s club, so no doubt he will be a happy man, but he'll be a happier man if he knows this Cambridge Blues team can get over the finishing line first this afternoon.
Interesting, obviously the referee has seen something in terms of being interfered with in the air, but again, just handing advantage. Oxford will be very keen just to spend some more time down here.
Well, that line out not going to plan as it's overthrown Messham's hands, and suddenly Cambridge looking at opportunities from their own 22. May with a little chip and chase bounce of the ball, not favouring his wingman there, but I think the Light Blues have re-engaged with the ball. Don Stevens asking his forwards to sort things out. There's Will Briggs, last year's captain, of course.
Prop.
Slow ball for the Light Blues, but get the advantage of referee Luke Pearce's whistle.
Just get the sense these 2 packs just really trying each other out. You had Oxford going for the maul off the line out. You've got Cambridge just picking and going there, looking for a runner off 9. There's a lot to prove for this Cambridge pack. They've changed things around. Half their pack is new, but it's what those 4 new players bring to the game and what those 4 from last year actually have learned from that experience. They're heavier. Are they as mobile? Only time will tell, but you see Oxford just coming offside there.
We saw there at the back of that line out Richard Bartholomew, the Cambridge 6, known as the old man in the pack because he's 29 years of age. Goodness me, how old is he? But his experience will be critical in settling this side down as Rob Hall takes safely in the middle of the line out. There is Bartholomew almost at the front as they try and work position for the first time into the Oxford 22. And then getting the advantage as well. Well, it's a play for nothing really for the Light Blues as they try and get some momentum into them all. Sam Farmer with nowhere to go quickly, but it's back into the midst of Jack Baker. Peck, Stevens working May into space. May trying to take the outside shoulder of Yannick. Stevens back in to keep the movement, and for the first time we're seeing the try line being threatened. This time Sam Allen wearing 15, often played at 12 as well through the course of this season, but Andy Key hoping he's going to get a bit more space from fullback. Luke Pearce taking them back for that earlier penalty. Well, this early flow from the Light Blues will please Harry Peck and his team.
Well, it's getting them in the right part of the pitch. It's getting the flow going, the rhythm. They're beginning to get that pack working together off the line. A good, clean line-out take. And putting Oxford under pressure. They'll just simply say, we took too much heat last year. Let's see what Oxford have when we put the pressure on them.
Well, you heard Harry Peck in that pre-match interview with Bill Latham saying they can't carry the baggage from last year. It's played in the back of the minds, therefore these first 10-15 minutes critical, and if they could get the first score, surely that would settle them down now, as Tom Pascoe asks his forwards to drive again, but this time the formation not right.
Then a second puck was formed.
And the moment has passed.
Transferred to the back, and then they started behind the players in front of them.
Hugo Kelly into the back row for this one, earning his second blue. Actually engaged with Harlequins Academy for a couple of years before he went off on his gap year, went to Brazil.
We're just talking about the formation of the lineup. Where's the ball?
It's the hook
yeah,
up.
they've taken players out. I mean, you've seen occasions where that has been given as well. It's really just trying to play a bit of a flanker, a bit of a bluff on the referee, but he was wise to it.
Safe take from Fergus Taylor in that dark blues engine room I mentioned earlier. No Will Rowlands, of course. He's now with the Wasps Academy. And there goes Taylor again. Oxford now with that box kick from Edgerton, wearing the 9 shirt that he prefers, wore 15 back in 2012 before James Wade moved him into that scrum half role that made the difference to the game. Ilya Cheretsov, the Russian winger, hacks the ball clear. It's back for Edward Doe. I think she spotted a gap. Harry Peck comes across to pick up the pieces. And Oxford unable to get themselves out of their own half at the moment. That's a good counter ruck from the Dark Blues, catching Cambridge unawares. Cullen feeds out to Yanni. Sizable outside centre, Matt Yanni. Now there's the snipe from Edgerton, a trademark snipe from the Oxford scrum half, and he's going to go all the way for the 3rd consecutive varsity match. Sam Edgerton gets over the try line, and what a virtuoso individual score that was.
Well, we haven't mentioned his name so far this match, but Sam Edgerton, well, we've known from previous varsity matches just how dangerous he is. Really sharp around the fringes and explosively quick off the mark. And just the gap opened up, he kept his head. And it was Doe, actually the chip kick, you wondered whether that was the right decision or not. But Oxford, it's all about this counter ruck, and they did it in a pair. It wasn't just one, 2 players hit the Cambridge side on just a simple pick and go. The decoy runner on the outside, he had the option to give him the ball, and Cullen, very cool and calm.
Well, we talk about the psychological advantage from scoring first. We thought the way the play was going, it was going to fall to the Light Blues. That is a huge swing to Oxford.
Well, it's massive because Oxford really haven't had their hands on the ball very much in this opening 10 minutes.
George Cullen sweeps the ball through. Of course, the memories of 2013 will start to disappear from that man's minds with that red card as well. It really couldn't have come at a better start for Sam Edgerton.
Well, it's a big show of character from Edgerton, but he'll be keen. There's so much rugby to be still played. He will want the most emphatic performance today to make up and atone for the sins of last year.
Sam Allen with the restart for the Light Blues. Matt Yanni is looking around to see if anybody wanted to clear his lines, but Yanni takes his team up to the edge of the 22. Taylor out to Cullen. Cullen, a real out-and-out 10 in the Oxford ranks this year. John Hudson, last year's fly half, was really a converted fullback, and Cullen, well, he'll have points to prove. He knows that he wasn't accepted into Cambridge ranks and has huge family history, of course, with the Light Blues that you know very well, Tyrone.
He does. His old man, JC John Cullen, played scrum half for Cambridge, so loyalty's being tested to the match today.
Well, of course, it's not only that that comes across, because George Cullen played with Harry Peck for a season at Tyndale, so they know each other well. But John Cullen, that you mentioned, actually replaced Harry's father Ian in this varsity match in 1980. So huge family involvement for the Pecks and the Cullens. Right now, it's the Pecks hoping that Cambridge can work position into that 22. Stevens feeds out to the forwards awaiting in midfield. That's Jacob Poulton. Looking to see if there's any opportunities out on that left flank. Tom Pascoe, Cornish born and bred, come up from Truro School to Cambridge now, winning his second blue.
No, Cambridge 6.
George Messam trying to force his way away.
Cambridge.
Formerly the Loughborough University captain and captain the England students as well, so a real presence in that Oxford back row, I should say. Again, the kicking option, trying to pull Taylor across. Plenty of time for the Australian to clear. Well, tactically, Tyrone, what you've seen so far, any surprises for you in the first quarter of an hour or so?
Well, Oxford, despite the lack of possession, are doing a lot of things right in defence. And Cambridge, well, you feel they've got to take their chance. A switch early here, I think, really would have opened up the space, but it's just delayed slightly. And the Oxford 12, McDonald gets across to make the tackle. Stevens, well, he's up for running this ball. He's up for attacking Oxford. But Cambridge, they've got to take their chances when they get down at the Oxford 22.
Line out works to provide the ball to Rob Hall. No opposition from Oxford, but suddenly it's Bartholomew. Breaks from the half maul as it was. Sam Farmer, one of the quartet of former Bedford School old boys, gets the penalty.
I know, but if you slow down the ball, you affect the quality of the ball. So.
The big number 8, another who's experienced the professional world with Northampton Saints Academy on that occasion. Doing a job for his team, there he is. And now it's going to give Don Stevens a chance of points for the Light Blues.
Well, Oxford, you see, not competing at all. And Cambridge took advantage, breaking right through the middle. And both defences have been very good so far, other than the break for Edgerton. But Cambridge will need to get some points on the board. It's been actually a positive first quarter from them, but they need to get something for their efforts.
Well, Don Stevens' first kick last year was a brilliant touchline conversion. This a more simple effort to get things going this year, and no doubt the South African will be just happy to see 3 points on the scoreboard.
The Oxford will want to just try and get a little bit more time on the ball, set up a few phases. Cambridge, very good with ball in hand, but have they got the power to get across the gain line? They haven't just quite troubled the Oxford defence enough so far.
Farmer trying to bust his way away from the 22. That no doubt will settle Cambridge minds, but they'll need to make sure they execute a bit more securely than that. That's put Will Briggs under tremendous pressure. Just the communication lacking on that occasion. But no panic in the Cambridge camp, and that was again something Harry Peck was looking to instill, is an innate confidence. Well, that confidence would have been slightly dented by that penalty going against them.
I'm surprised both sides are very willing to play the ball out of their own 22s, but of course the risk you run is if you get put to ground and somebody comes in over the ball, you can give that penalty away. Just think maybe it might have been slightly better just to have got the ball off the pitch and just set it all up again. But again, it comes from that mistake, the ball going behind that pod, trying to take it up, and instead the ball spills in Oxford, putting Cambridge under pressure, and they never released Cambridge from that grasp. And an early chance to give a bit of confidence to George Cullen.
Well, we saw from the flags before the game there's quite a wind blowing around, and it's always difficult to gauge how it affects the kickers, both from hand and from the tee. So George Cullen looking to make sure he aims for that left hand upright with the way that wind is swirling right now. Perfect kick from George Cullen, and another 3 points, and immediately the response from Oxford. And how often do we see that, professional or amateur, it doesn't matter, you are at your most susceptible immediately after you've scored.
Absolutely, and Oxford will be delighted just to extend that lead once again. A great kick from Cullen, enough height, enough weight to slice the posts. He'll be pleased with that effort, and that'll settle the nerves. New game for him. There's so much experience in this Oxford side that actually to be coming in for your first blue is a bit of a rarity these days.
Well, certainly in that key pivotal position. Here's Edgerton, the try scorer. And you'll see Jacob Taylor in at first receiver there, and as the game breaks up, expect to see him have a little more opportunity to step into that position. There's Cullen, of course, with the 10 on his back.
Release first. You've got to tackle it, you've got to fully release
Bartholomew
him.
not rolling away to the satisfaction of Luke Pearce.
Release.
Well, Jacob Taylor, again, happy to run the ball out of his own 22, but I think if it looked up, there's a big Oxford overlap out on that right-hand side.
Yep.
Well, the ball...
Backwards and off
the ball hanging high, and I think it's fallen back Cambridge side. Stevens gets the call. There's Fraser Gillies. Gillies trying to stretch past Taylor's desperate tackle, but the Australian takes him down. Farmer with the continuity. Cambridge trying to get the rhythm into their play. Jack Baker bundles his way up over the 22. Peck tries to step back inside Tom Reeson-Price's wall of defence. Well, just coming to the end of this first quarter, and both teams seemingly settling in to their play and the patterns of play that they were looking to impose. Again, Farmer happy to do those hard yards. Gillies feeds out to May, cutting back again. We saw this beautiful line of running last year, you may remember, when he was playing at fullback and scored that try. Kelly struggling his way onwards. And once again, Cambridge threatening the Oxford line. Kelly showing and going, but the reception committee waiting for him around the fringes of that maul, so they decide to move it wider this time. Gillies, May looking at that inside pass to Allen. Stevens keeps the move going, and Cambridge getting continuity into their play now. They need to find that incisive thrust to break through the blue line. Peck calling the shots. Not quite sure that was the shot that Don Stevens was expecting. The swing back to this near side for Cheritsov. Well, phase after phase, Cambridge going through, but unable to really find that move that they were looking for, and in the end, defence pays dividends.
Well, phase after phase, but not really getting anywhere, certainly not going forward. I mean, the bulking up process that Cambridge have embarked on in their pack certainly paying dividends in terms of the tight exchanges, but you just wonder, where's the cutting edge, where's the execution in this final third of the pitch? You saw maybe a little glimpse from their 13, Toby May, but apart from that, you're thinking, where's the score going to come from, where's the break going to come from? And the Oxford defence standing firm thus far.
There we see that break from Toby May, working so hard to drive through the tackle.
It was good feet, and then shrugs off Collins' tackle. Where he's isolated, two-man tackle, third man in over the ball.
Yep, Gardner affecting the turnover sufficiently for the referee to give the call.
Hold there.
Edgerton puts it straight into the middle of the park for Fraser Heathcote to come bustling through. Cullen gets the call from Henry Lamont, who you may remember not only scored a try last year but also played scrum half a quarter of an hour, best part of when Edgerton was first dismissed, beginning of that second half, and retaining his place on the left wing for this one. Yanni, good balance from the outside centre. Drive on from Zandy McDonald, came on as a flanker last season, but with such a skill set that James Wade, the Oxford coach, has opted to put him into midfield for this season.
saw the line out. Fraser Heathcote, the blind side, just going straight for that 10 channel.
Well, a special game for Heathcote, born and bred in Cambridge himself, attended the Leeds School in Cambridge, so a very pertinent and poignant game for him. There's Don Stevens, South African, who played scrum half for a lot of his career, represented the Eastern Province Kings in the 9 shirt, but has that capacity as a halfback, like a lot of the French halfbacks that we know and revere, to be able to play in the 9 or 10 shirt. Student from Fraser College in Bloemfontein. There's Harry Peck, student from Bedford School, bundling his way up. Stevens releasing outside, Gillies unable to hold on to the ball, and the unforced error just stunting Cambridge's flow there.
Maybe that's been the mark of this opening 24 minutes. Lots of pressure, lots of possession, and lots of territory for Cambridge, but just little unforced errors undoing a lot of that good work. Peck made a good half break there, but again, we've not mentioned Edgerton. Oxford not having much to do, not having much possession, but of course you get a turnover and all of a sudden you got a little bit of space around the fringes, and Edgerton seems to be the real danger man in this Oxford side.
Yeah, that man there, a firecracker waiting to be lit at any given opportunity in broken phase play. And we've already seen it once. Quarter of an hour left in the first half. And just Edgerton scored to separate the two teams.
Fellas, I'm sorry to be fussy, but we're just attacked too close there. That's fine, just create yourself a bit of space.
Luke Pearce just laying down the law early on for this scrum engagement.
Get a little bit more space between you.
Well, he says it's no big deal, but it is a huge deal for those 16 guys, and the scar from last year will need to be itched by that Cambridge 8, and in particular the front row, Briggs and Pascoe will remember that game.
Crunch!
Jacob Poulton, 124 kilos inside his number 3 jersey. Doesn't turn 21 till after Christmas. Big responsibility for the Cambridge tight head this afternoon.
Bring your right foot a touch closer for me. Just bring your right foot a touch closer. Keep that height up, okay? Let me referee it first.
Portsmouth Grammar School.
Fellas, feet close together, height of the scrum,
on this Varsity.
It's just height, that's all. We're just starting down there. Crunch!
Anderson up against him, of course, with that history in the making for him. There's Gus Jones, junior world champion, of course, with England in New Zealand in June. George Messam controlling the ball as the Oxford scrum get the screw turned on their opposite numbers. Edgerton opts for the kick through.
Hold there, Cambridge, stop there!
7 wide is moving forward.
Okay, 7, stop! 7! 7! Thank you, good listening, cheers!
Looking to sweep that left-footed kick behind Cheretsov. And the kicking conversation continues. Cheretsov up against Edgerton, good competition, no problem there. Taylor in support, luckily for Oxford. And the forwards now back behind the ball and driving through. Tom Reeson-Price, the team secretary this year. Cullen and Yanni just looking to explore options a little further wide out.
Off his feet, play on! Off his foot!
Turnover ball for the Light Blues. Speed of execution, now the essence. Farmer shows and goes, brought down by Heathcote. Poulton. And now Oxford have their defensive line back in position. Stevens, well, handling not helping Cambridge there. They're going to get the line out put in, but it's going to be on halfway, and really we've seen a lot of Cambridge attack going lateral without ever being able to find that cutting edge, Tyrone.
That was a really poor passage of play there. If you look up here, Cambridge have got a massive overlap outside. 2 dark blues, they just need to just commit those guys. That ball, get that line aligned properly. Just take and give, take the men out, commit them, and actually create space on the outside for your fast men. When they look back at that, that was a real opportunity.
Well, turnover ball is gold dust, we know that. And the coaches will be hoping that the likes of Don Stevens and Harry Peck can utilise any opportunities that come their way, like that sort of scenario.
Cheers, no problems.
Suppose, mind you, Andy Key, 10-3 down, Cambridge coach, he'd be thinking, well, that Edgerton try was a flash in the pan, come out of nothing. This is effectively a 3-all game if you take that try away. The problem is you can't on the scoreboard, and they've got to show that they can split this Oxford defence, and when they do, they can actually just take advantage of these overlaps, take advantage of the space, and come away with a score.
More, say more.
Well, Andy Key reckons that those forwards have put on between 5 and 6 kilos since last season. It's not all about bulk, we know that. Technique has an awful lot to do with it, but it certainly seems to have helped solidify the forward platform for Cambridge thus far. Toby May trying to sidle his way into the Oxford half.
It certainly has done its job, but that last scrum was more like what we expected, that Oxford front row doing the job.
Here's Polton. It is stepping in at first receiver, and a delightful kick through from the Scot. That worked really well from Fraser Gillies, product of Edinburgh Academy. Took the chance to go over in his gap year to Racing Metro to have a year over there, and then came back, finished with 3 years at Exeter University. Calming influence in this Cambridge backline.
Well, maybe his first blue for Cambridge, but that was a real moment of maturity. Just pumped it behind the Oxford defensive line, just turns them, puts them under pressure, and probably a lot more worthwhile than maybe 6 or 7 additional phases.
They'll look to put some pressure on this Oxford line out, try and keep them hemmed inside their 22 for the unforced error.
That's once nine.
Sam Edgerton biding his time now, puts the box kick in, and that's good clearance and exit strategy from Oxford. Half an hour gone then of the 2014 Varsity match, and nip and tuck first half really. Cambridge now looking to set an attack in line from a line out just outside the 22, and the chance to score points now psychologically huge. Quite go to plan, but they have kept hold of the ball as Will Briggs tries to soften up that fringe defence. Stevens, Gillies again trying to open the door for Toby May out wide. That's good tackling coming in from May's opposite number, Yanni. But Toby May has this capacity, it's almost like a Will Greenwood stride to be able to stretch past the tackle.
Well, you can see that he's looking for it. He's got an option outside, he's looking for that inside pass. Problem was that the line out didn't function very well, so it meant the ball came down, it was slow, and it also allowed the Oxford fringe defence, the forwards, to actually stack the pitch. So there's just less space out wide.
Safe line out from Oxford. Chris Jones takes control of them all.
Cheers, Tom.
And now bursts away. Taylor feeds on to Edgerton. And any time Sam Edgerton gets the ball in broken play, the alarm bells are going to be ringing. We've got numbers out wide to the right, Oxford, they spin it out to Yanni. Matt Yanni tries to take the outside route. Cambridge having to double gang on the tackle and getting the penalty. Now, something Luke Pearce has seen he's not very happy with. It's George Cullen.
If he speaks from that
Let's
again,
have a listen.
he'll go. Number 10, Mouth.
Well, the verbals not helping Oxford there from George Cullen, and Luke Pearce laying down the law in no uncertain terms.
Yeah, and it's a shame that, because that was the first, I think, apart from Edgerton's try, that was a passage of play of real quality from Oxford.
Well, they've just about got away with that kick. Edward Doe unable to bring the ball back from that awkward stance, it has to be said. You will appreciate that as a former winger.
But I think with 7 minutes to go here in the first half, for all this territory, Cambridge, they want to come away with something, a brilliant attacking position. First things first, the line-out has to function. You see the backs, there's lots of chat going on out there.
Well, stage one is affected. Now they try and get into forward gear in that maul. Farmer stunted or really before he could get going. They are going to get the penalty though.
Number 8, you can't tackle a player without the ball. You're pulling him away from the ball.
That driving line-out seems to be more and more effective from the light blues perspective.
We saw it working very well earlier in the half. Interesting decision, that line-out working very well. But
just one word,
Donald Stevens keen to just close this gap, get something for the possession in the territory that they've enjoyed.
You have your job to do, and I have mine.
George Messam, an experienced operator at number 8, a big character in this Oxford team, as you'd have to be to take over from the tradition that was John Carter. But having to stand now underneath his posts as they look at that man Don Stevens trying to nail another 3 points for the light blues. Well, they don't call him Dead-Eye Don for nothing. Splits the post, and the Cambridge fans happy with their lot. They're back within 4.
Well, he'll know how important that penalty is. He's pulling the strings for Cambridge, but all of a sudden 4 points, just looking to get in at half-time. 4 points gap now, and Cambridge will be very pleased that they've got themselves back into this game. But important kick-off now. They've got to keep their cool and get out of their own 22 safely.
Farmer takes responsibility.
Yeah, that's good.
Again, the memories of last year come back, and a lot of significant characters disappeared before half-time in terms of being injured. Don Stevens, one of those.
Good.
But thankfully, everybody seemingly at the moment, with 4 minutes left to go of this first half, able to take a full and eager part. As Taylor sends one high. Farmer on the boundary almost, stumbles but takes the ball. When we talk about the psychological advantage from points taken 5 minutes either side of half-time, and we're into that zone now. No mistakes.
Good.
Quick take from Messam. Cullen feeds out to Doe, the Welsh winger, looking to find tired legs, but only finds a double gang tackle from Cambridge, so the forwards have to come round to rescue it. Nick Gardner, known as the Pear for his body shape, I wouldn't want to comment upon that, but a popular character within the Oxford ranks, no question about that, as is Fraser Heathcote. Good handling, good offload from Lewis Anderson. Taylor in first receiver, feeds on to Gardner. Oxford beginning to manipulate position now. Edgerton gets the support from big Ian Williams, 6'4" and 123 kilos, doing the job. That's the 22 of Cambridge. Just Oxford are beginning to approach now. Edgerton and Lamont working in unison, and Oxford really making headway phase after phase, and this is what Cambridge couldn't do when they've had possession. Oxford being very effective now as Heathcote rumbles into the 22. Edgerton keeps it sweeping to the right. Taylor. They go again, this time with Zandy McDonald. Cullen looking for somebody to come on the charge on his inside shoulder. Has to take the contact, but still, Oxford beginning to mount the pressure now inside this Cambridge 22. You see 14 phases they've been through and they have made some headway. That's been the difference so far in the way that these two teams have set up. Yanni begins to open it up. Metres short from the second try. Cullen feeds on. Lamont without the bulk to be able to force his way over from that distance. But presents the ball back. Edgerton looks at the options. Messham's the first one. Composed work from Oxford. Now they speed it up. Well, was there crossing there? Referee says he's happy, as I think it's Zandy McDonald who's forced his way over. Well, what a huge score that could be from the South African centre. Son of Dougal, who captained the Oxford Blues back in the 70s. And now Zandy McDonald has got what could be a very important score psychologically before half-time.
Well, if Oxford go on to win this game, they will look back and they will see a passage of play that is nigh on perfect. They got patterns going, they got players running onto the ball, they protected the ball, and they just edged and edged and edged closer to that Cambridge line. It was terrific from Oxford, and it was set off and ignited by the tight offloading game from their pack. Their pack just looked a little bit more explosive in the tight exchanges, and they're able to get the ball out of contact. Maybe a question over crossing, just in this final passage of play. Did he make contact with anybody? He's not taking anybody out of the play. That's a good ruling by the referee.
Yeah, the general idea is if it doesn't stop anybody tackling, then it will be allowed to continue there. And I think Gardner wasn't really affecting the phase, the wave of play. And good strength there from the inside centre. Well, what difference is that going to make to the team talks in the hutches as Cullen adds another 2 points, and there goes the half-time whistle. It's been a fascinating first half. Cambridge with the majority of possession and territory, but they go into the hutches with Oxford leading 17-6. Join us after the break for discussion on that first 40.
Just not being as tight-knit around the breakdown, so we've just got a bit more clinical in those areas and we'll be all right.
Thanks, Julian.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
So Julian Salvi saying that magic word, patience. Damien Hopley said patience was the difference because that was the way that Oxford worked as well. It's composure, isn't it? And we saw Oxford execute so well when they got the ball. Cambridge, you just feel, have got to find that incisive thrust. They've had plenty of possession, but as yet, never really able to trouble that Oxford defence. I was talking to James Wade during the week, and he said that there was a little concern with the absence of the likes of John Carter, John Hudson, Gavin Turner, Will Rowlands, some of those mature heads that the Oxford team have been used to. But really, this Oxford team seems to be very pragmatic, Tyrone, and really affected everything very efficiently.
I mean, they're as patient without the ball as they are with it, and that's been a hallmark of the first half. They didn't have a great deal of possession, and actually it really wasn't until that last 5 minutes that they got some quality patterns going. But their defence has been very solid, and as you say, patience for Cambridge has been a problem with too many unforced errors. But for me, cutting edge is the problem for Cambridge. Penalties is not going to be good enough for them. They've got to come up with something a little bit extra.
Doe and Taylor trying to combine on that left flank and just overrunning on that occasion. It's going to allow Cambridge to get their mitts back on the ball. They've got a player down on this near side as Peck puts up the box kick. I think they're going to have to stop it.
Didn't see him here.
And they're going to, yes,
Time off, Mike.
just have some attention to that Cambridge player.
Sorry, mate.
There's Edward Doe getting his start. had a knee injury problem that was overcome this season, so he'll be delighted to win his second blue. As for that man there, Jacob Taylor, one of the Rhodes scholars, Rhodes rugby playing scholars, coming in from the Commonwealth or the USA. Indeed, the first Rhodes captain since Wallaby wing, Phil Crow, back in the early 80s.
You did, it was very tight.
I remember another David Kirk, who, having lifted the World Cup trophy in '87, decided to then retire and take 2 years at Worcester College. There was also, I'm told, President Bill Clinton and Chris Christopherson. Didn't get their rugby blues, got the boxing blue, Christopherson, but it is a long and illustrious list.
Clinton is obviously missing a quite major gap in his CV. But it's a fixture. Almost the more amateur rugby becomes, the more interesting it becomes. People you have all these family histories, and particularly the varsity match. And there's, for example, young George Cullen out there. His dad and half of the sort of the whole extended family are all out there in the West Car Park, loving the occasion, and it passes down from generation to generation. It's amazing, and once you have been involved in it, it really does have a grip of you forever after that.
It's going to grip those young men for the rest of their lives, no question, if they can get on the pitch. This, of course, the hors d'oeuvre for a fascinating European weekend. Rugby Club starts things up at 7 o'clock this evening. And then we move into the Challenge Cup with Stade Francais up against Dean Richards' Newcastle team. Always interesting to see how those Challenge Cup fixtures between the French and the English go. And we're into the Champions Cup with Gregor Townsend pitting his Glasgow Warriors side against Toulouse. And then an all-English affair with Steve Diamond returning to his old club, of course, Sale Sharks, smarting from that loss last week at the AJ Bell Stadium to Saracens. And then Racing Metro against the Ospreys. Now, that draw last week really puts all sorts of things into the melting pot for that game in Paris. And indeed, the game on Sunday also has plenty to play for. Castres in a state of confusion, with their coaches already being told they're not going to be part of the team for the next season. So Wasps will be hoping for a max. And their last game, of course, at Adams Park, and then a must-win game for Munster. Who would have thought that against Clermont? The French Giants really flexing their muscles early doors in this Champions Cup competition. Right, well, not a sight that we wanted to see.
That's a big loss for Cambridge. Don Stevens, he was the main playmaker and also their kicker.
Scrum to Oxford left.
It'll be interesting just to see how both sides react to this extended pause.
Yeah, Don Stevens, of course, made an early exit last season after 28 minutes, and that is the last thing that Andy Key will have wanted at the beginning of this second half, to lose his playmaker. Presumably it means Fraser Gillies will step in to fly half operation. Sam Allen would be another option, but I think as far as I can see, there's Gillies. That means Sam Allen now is going to be his inside centre, and you saw John Wild come on for his first blue. So how is that going to affect Cambridge? Well, just when they thought they got some ascendancy in the scrum, it yields a penalty.
So you can't take a stepping on the outside. Okay. One around the outside.
Well, Cambridge are devastated by that ruling. The first time we've really seen that pack put the pressure on Oxford.
One.
But unfortunately not
Hips
able to keep it.
And then you go straight through and you'll get the reward. Right?
I say not able to keep the momentum going straight.
Well, you look at the history books as ever with this fixture, and it shows that in 4 of the last 5 games Oxford have been ahead at half-time. One of those, incidentally, they lost, but it does give so much psychological advantage to the team talk. Donald just about holding on to the ball there. Not a straightforward take, as Tom Reeson-Price comes round the corner. Heathcote. It's good leg drive from Tom Heathcote, Fraser Heathcote, I beg his pardon. As Yanni comes round looking for any chink of light. Henry Lamont, the Surrey boy, takes his team up to the 22. Nessum gets the call from Cullen. The handling from Reeson-Price, just letting Oxford down at the critical moment.
Well, it's just maybe not the best having a second row out wide.
Don't put your forwards out wide. Golden rule.
Get closer to the ruck, big fella. But, you know, much more impressive on the ball. I mean, Oxford able to use their feet, trying to make half gaps, half breaks, and they get the offload away. Just look a little bit sharper ball in hand, and also ball carriers just able to slightly get beyond the gain line a little bit more effectively. And again, in that last ruck, 2 men in the ruck, quite efficient as well.
Composure and confidence emanating from Oxford, maybe off the back of last year, do you think?
Well, it's easy to be composed and have confidence when you're 11 points up as well early in the second half. That's also given them a good platform.
The Oxford team have been coached by the likes of Charlie Hodson, who's kind of blessed to do work on their attack and kicking game. Kenan Mile again helping with the line out, and Thompson the scrums. Luke Pearce said to me before the game, I've got to put on some bulk because I always get hit. Apparently he did at the weekend when he did Ulster Scarlets. And Luke Pearce is just catching his breath there, big smile, but ouch.
Just height for me. Just maintain your height, head above your hips when you go down, okay?
It was like a balloon having all the wind forced out of it at the rate of knots there. Pearce, who ran the line for Andrew Small a few years back, was really looking forward to getting a Varsity match on his CV. One of the 7 professional referees that the RFU employs.
Fine. Set. Right, stand up. Okay, I get it. Right, fellas. No. Ear to ear. If we're not going to play ball, we have to be ear to ear.
A simple equation when he says it like that.
I know. Okay, just give
Let's
yourself
play
one
ball,
extra inch.
gentlemen.
That's good. When you go down, this guy won't be free engaged then.
You can see that Oxford front row of Anderson, Gardner and Williams.
Okay, keep the space.
Such
on the
an efficient unit.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Good drive from the Oxford 8, but Cambridge able to release. Gillies again, May coming on that cutting line, and that would appear to be the best option for Cambridge to open up this Oxford defence, is try and get Toby May into the right sort of areas with the right sort of opportunities.
Well, it was much better. It was right on the gain line. It was done at pace and he hit a good angle. You've got to produce more of that.
Farmer being held inside that 10-metre channel.
Use it!
The forwards looking to come around and flex their muscles on the rat. There's Bartholomew, the only man, of course, in this Cambridge side that has experienced success in the Varsity.
There it is, hold. Just advantage for the knock-on.
Cambridge being rebuffed at the moment around the fringes, forced back to halfway. Gillies brings Sam Allen into play. Played here for the Yorkshire Under-20s County Championship final a couple of years back now. A drive with Ilya Cheretsov. Gillies trying to get the back rowers going, led by Hugo Kelly. Gus Jones at the bottom of the ruck doing the dog, as any good open side should be.
Yeah, it was a crucial intervention as well. Had Cambridge managed to actually recycle that ball very quickly, there was space on the outside there. But again, it's just how to create quick recycled ball that they're struggling with, and also Oxford doing very well to slow it down, and the challenge for Cambridge, how to turn slow ball into quick ball and actually give their backs something to play with.
You see Gus Jones coming in and affecting the leech. So efficient from the Oxford Open side. His granddad actually played on the wing for Cambridge back in 1949, so mixed emotions perhaps in the Jones family this afternoon, but no doubt wanting son to make sure that he gets another success and another notable addition to his impressive rugby CV. Gardner low to the ground, good drive from the Oxford hooker. The next trio led by Fergus Taylor. And this is where we saw efficiency in the first half. It's not worked so well in the second.
Number 6 is neck roll to play it over the ruck. It's not allowed. Body roll only.
You may have heard that call from Luke Pearce. No longer allowing any sort of neck roll. Body roll is acceptable, trying to clear away the ruck, but anything to do with that neck roll, the officials are jumping on all over the world now. Let's have a look at this.
Again, Oxford very good at the ruck, but here I think is where the referee's made his ruling.
Taylor went into the contact. Here we go.
Yeah, you just see the arms wrapped around just below the head guard.
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone. Don't panic.
Oxford beginning to find an expansive line, and suddenly Yanni breaks through the tackle. Well, that was good work. I think it was Jack Baker who was quickest to react, and my goodness, Cambridge needed him to get his hands on the ball. Oh, lovely line from Henry Lamont. Taylor, like a rubber ball, bouncing off the tackles to take his team up to the 10-metre line. Cullen spotting no sweeper at home. Lucky for Cambridge, the ricochet falls into the hands of George Smith. Haven't really seen much of him, and he loses the ball there, but it was a knock forward from the hands of McDonald.
Again, really opening up, and you get the sense just for the bounce of a ball, an interception, just that one offload. We're not too far off getting another try in this game.
Just time that push away for the ball, okay?
There's the replacement for Cambridge. That's Charlie O'Sullivan. And Doe being replaced by the man who started last year on the right wing, Henry Hughes.
That's great.
Bartholomew has won his fourth blue. Whether it's going to be a victorious blue, he's going to have to wait half an hour to find out.
Just make sure you're setting down, that's it. Crunch. Bind. Set.
Again, Oxford just getting that into the shove and forcing Farmer to pick up and drive. But the ball into the back line, the pass just not helping John Wild. It was an exocet of a pass that was flying over his head.
Already you get the sense that with their main kicker off the pitch, they're maybe just trying to just chase the game a little bit too much, a little bit too early. A lot of rugby played there just outside their 22. And again, we saw enough unforced errors in the first half to suggest they need to just play a little bit more percentage rugby at this stage. Or maybe just it comes down to a poor pass to the outside man, because certainly, had this ball gone in front, there was a potential 3-on-2 and then 2-on-1.
Well, Andy Key has been talking a lot about how he's been trying to get his team to work the thirds of the pitch, so either relieving pressure, building pressure or sustaining pressure. And much as they've had plenty of possession, they haven't really been able to rack up the pressure on Oxford.
Well, you can either put pressure on an opposition or put pressure on yourselves. And for too much of this game so far, Cambridge have been putting pressure on themselves by just not executing as well as they would have planned.
Driving in from Jacob Poulton, being penalised from
you can't bind on his arm
referee Pearce.
Hang on, no. We agreed, tight head first, and you're on his arm. If you're not on his arm, I can then reward you. So where do you want to bind? Not on his arm. On his shoulder. He knows where to bind.
And the binding of Poulton
on his arm
is the problem. Now, interesting call from Jacob Taylor, asking Cullen to send his team into a line out 6 metres out.
Look at him. If you do on your arm, I can't look at him until
11 points the difference.
Line's yours, Cambridge.
A try scored here would be a huge buffer for Oxford on the scoreboard at least.
I often think 20 points in a varsity match is a really symbolic point to get. You get 20 points, you're going to be there or thereabouts in the game.
Safe take from Messam at the tail. Cambridge forwards trying to work to move it away, but the ball is back in the hands of Tom Reeson-Price, and the team's secretary has gone over. Bench last year, a start this year, and glory for Oxford's number 5.
Ball in hand, Oxford have just been that little bit more explosive, able to get beyond the gain line and break tackles, and all of a sudden just the breaches, or the tams burst, and Oxford breached that fringe defence. Big strong ball carrier there. Again, a great line out at the back, well set up. Again, just pulling it inside, all the defenders on the inside just shrugging off the inside defender, and lots of space out there.
Good awareness, wasn't it, of what was on?
Well, I think they knew exactly what they were doing. Ball to the back, bring it infield and expose that short side.
Perhaps a little lack in concentration from the Cambridge defence there. Just been pulled across.
Yeah, it's probably a bit of both. I mean, it's quality Oxford play. The line-out's gone exactly where they want to, and they're dangerous. They've got 5 men around that ball. You've got to defend, first of all, where the immediate threat is.
Well, quarter of an hour into this second half, and it's Oxford who get the first score since the break. Very good kick from Cullen, but just ricocheting off that right-hand upright, his first miss of the day. But he'll be reassured by a scoreline that shows a significant points advantage for the Dark Blues. So, Fraser Guinness with the restart. Cambridge have to show some composure now to get themselves back into this game as George Messam bundles his way away from the 22. Cullen waiting for the moment to release Henry Lamont.
Stay up, Oxford, stay up! Away 4!
Cambridge trying to hold Oxford inside their own half. But the wind very much in the dark blue sails at the moment. Cullen sends it skyward. Problem for George Smith, which yields possession to the opposition, and suddenly you get the feeling that if Oxford are trundling towards another score, it could be lights out for Cambridge in this match.
Tackle!
Edgerton feeds his voracious pack of forwards, led by Heathcote once again. Taylor coming in at first receiver. Yanni steps back inside. Yanni steps 1, steps 2. Desperate defence from Peck just holds him up, but Oxford are on the move now. Drop goal attempt from Cullen. Well, didn't find the target, and disappointment for George Cullen and for Oxford after they'd worked their way into position.
Well, I was going to say, his accuracy is like his old man's off the first at Trevose, I'm afraid, with that drop kick.
I'm sure you're going to be getting some texts about that after this game.
But, do you know what, you can just sense the extra bit of confidence, the extra bit of tempo and intensity from Oxford. They know they've got the comfort of this cushion, and really they want to just try and put another nail in the coffin. There's a lot of time still left in this game as well.
Well, a lot of opportunity, isn't there? And it's just a matter of holding on to the belief now. when you're under the pump, as Cambridge have been for the last 8-9 minutes or so. Gardner feeding it out, McDonald stepping back inside, good handling from forwards and backs in the Oxford lineup. Again, a sniping threat of Sam Edgerton. You can see why so many clubs are interested in the Oxford number 9. Winner of the Alistair Hignell medal a couple of years ago and changed the game when he was moved from full-back to scrum half. Heathcote on the move. Taylor, and up for the 4th try, and it's gone to Ian Williams, the tight head prop, born in Chichester but represented Wales students due to his time at Swansea University. And I know his family are here in the crowd. I bumped into them on the way into the stadium, and they are going to love that moment.
That was a great line. He's a big, heavy man. He's not going to be stopped from that sort of distance, and he kept his body angle low to the ground as well. You just see it's the offloading. They're just getting the ball out of the tackle, and Cambridge cannot sustain the pressure that Oxford are putting them under. Great line. Cambridge defence, I'm afraid, all over the place, but great conversion of pressure and territory, and Oxford really coming away with the points in the second half.
Efficiency, again, from every opportunity, it would seem.
Well, they're using the ball very wisely. They've been strong so far in this game, and just Cambridge, there's only so much you can tackle, and you keep on going backwards and going backwards, and it's the offloading game that makes you feel as if you're slightly chasing shadows.
Well, Ian Williams getting a late birthday present, turned 24 last Thursday. And James Wade there will be happy with his charges inside this first hour. Well, we've got another Cambridge injury. Of course, every precaution being taken to make sure that there is the maximum medical support for any injuries that are going, as Oxford call themselves in, just to have a chat while this is going on. Four tries already in the bag for the Oxford Blues. One of the many schools that are here, and it's great to see so many schools still supporting the Varsity. It was my first experience of Twickenham back in the last century, it has to be said now, but of course on today, this particular day, there's been 22 of the 25 schools that represented the 55 Fallen Blues have been in the stadium today, coming from as far afield as New Zealand, South Africa, Wales and Scotland. Of course, you mentioned your school earlier on, Tyrone. It is a very special day for schools nationwide.
Schools love this. I can remember, I'm going to make a confession here. I used to bunk off school to watch the Varsity match one afternoon in the middle of December. They didn't know where I was, and I was glued in the video room with it. I always backed the dark blues for some reason, and other people, they back the light blues, dark blues. It just grabs a hold of the attention, and it's a terrific day out for those young fellas.
Well, they're obviously enjoying their lot and what they've seen so far. I'm not sure whether they're dark blue or light blue supporters, but here's the tries that they've really savoured. Sam Edgerton, the first man since 1925 to score in 3 consecutive varsities. That man back then was a man called Tom Devitt. Well, Sam Edgerton's name is once again on the history books of the Varsity. And then here was the second try from Zandy McDonald, muscling his way over for perhaps what was the crucial score psychologically. And then we saw the second rower, Tom Reeson-Price, bursting from the back to force his way over. And then that fourth try, well, anything that a second row can do, a front row can do just as well, as Ian Williams showed.
And this match seems to really, right from the start of this game, seems to have history stamped all over it. Of course, being the 100th anniversary of the outbreak of the First World War, and commemorating the lives lost, the Oxford and Cambridge Blues, who lost their lives in World War I. But again, they're going for this 5th victory on the trot as well. Certainly it looks like Oxford are going to claim that. It'll be the first time that's ever been done by an Oxford side. Cambridge have had 5 victories on the trot 3 times already. But so far for Oxford, this would be a momentous occasion.
Well, let's have the thoughts of John Carter and Damien Hopley as we hear from the touchline with Rupert Cox. Thanks you, Rupert. George Smith being taken off on the stretcher for Cambridge, the second Cambridge player to be stretchered off in this half as George Cullen looks to add the extras to what looks now to be a fairly formidable total for the Dark Blues. 4th successful kick for Cullen, and now difficult to see how Cambridge are really going to pull themselves back into this game, even though we've only had an hour gone.
Yeah, and certainly they can't look to Oxford to let them off or to do them any favours. Oxford be one to go straight back, and almost you can almost enjoy this sort of situation, ball in hand, just tormenting your opposition when you're up by 23 points.
Taylor throwing the ball out wide, and Oxford beginning to expand their game now as they know psychologically they are holding the upper hand in this match. Is there anything that Cambridge can do now to stop history being made with Oxford's 5th successive victory? You can see the reception committee coming through on Andy Rees, the replacement for Smith. Rees, who actually plays his rugby not far from here, Teddington, but he's never played at Twickenham before. Now the Cambridge forwards are really going to have to roll their sleeves up.
7 away first. Thank you.
Just get some momentum into their game. It's all been about the Dark Blues in the last 10 minutes or so.
Entry 8. No, lost! No!
Walking into an Oxford cul-de-sac, no way through.
4-5!
Peck trying to look at options on this far side, but again, handling not quite working, and thankfully Lewis Anderson's kick didn't dictate the way that Oxford were going to attack on that occasion. What is a loose head doing kicking the ball?
They'll have a pop of them after that.
Yeah, of course.
But also, I mean, for the vast majority of these players, I mean, this is going to be the pinnacle of their rugby careers, and playing at Twickenham, such a highlight, and it's a big pitch. You know, if they rode Grange Road, they feel smaller than Twickenham. You're along from where Cambridge are, they're a long way away from the opposition post. It's big, it's wide, it's long. you get a greater sense of space in this magnificent stadium as well, which means the shadows are longer when you're chasing them. The gaps are bigger. Everything just becomes exaggerated and magnified.
Crutch.
Changes in the Cambridge front row. Frank Sanders, you can see on this near side, was actually the starting tight head last season. Up against his old ally,
you can't pre-engage
or nemesis, I should say, I suppose, Lewis Anderson.
Not to be pre-engaged.
Really was not an experience that man there on this near side will want to remember. Braxton and so on to prop Tom Pascoe.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Secure scrum from the Dark Blues. The pick up from Messam. Trying to drive his way through Peck. 6'2" and over 100 kilos on the hoof, working there for Messam and Oxford as Gardner takes his team up to the 22 once again. They spin it out to the left. Lots of numbers. Matt Yanni turns on the afterburners. Well, feeds out to his wingman, who unfortunately is not 6'7" tall, otherwise that was try time.
Well, he either had to do one thing or the other. He put on the afterburners, but he either had to back himself or just be a little bit more controlled and make sure that that pass went to hand. But it was a clear try-scoring opportunity. Looks slightly in a bit of discomfort there.
There's Strang on the bench if they need to put changes into that Oxford backline.
We'll play on for a second, Tom. Got some more.
Cambridge line out. Stuck inside their own 22, and with quarter of an hour left, they need to be up the other end of the pitch if they're going to be able to get themselves back into this game. It's a real tough task now when you look at that scoreline.
Oxford will also find that they will have the flexibility of slightly infringing if they want to. They'll not be afraid to give away the odd penalty down in Cambridge's half.
Fraser Gill is taking on responsibility now since Don Stevens' exit early in this second half, I should say.
Time it way better, please. The timing better in the front now.
There's Frank Sanders.
That's way too early.
To see Yanni just stretching, just hand up to the back of that hamstring. Just wonder if he's done anything there.
A safe take once again from Rob Hall.
Advantage, collapsing the ball is transferred.
They're going to get the penalty advantage should they need it. On halfway, that may be the better option for the Light Blues.
I'm not sure you can tackle the ball carrier, but not after the ball's forward. Okay. Too slow, Sam.
Well, concentration now critical for Cambridge. Concentrate. It'll feel like an exam without revision for these last 14 minutes or so.
No great surprise seeing two Cambridge substitutes warming up, just about to take the pitch. They need to have a little bit of breath of fresh air. Then a few players coming on just to add a little bit of new energy and enthusiasm.
The energy is certainly what they'll get if Daniel Das comes on, the Belfast boy wearing 20, waiting in the wings now as the Cambridge 8 try and manipulate position to get something going, to get some points on the ball. They've had no points since the 34th minute of this game, so over half an hour of barren play from a Cambridge perspective. Farmer happy to let his tight five drive him into position. Now Peck releases the back line. Gillies out to May, but good tackling coming in from Oxford, and they're going to make the most of that opportunity. It's Henry Hughes, I think, who got in the tackle, wearing 22 there, looking to make an impact off the bench.
We just saw it after that turnover. Yanni, he's down. Just looked as if he was in trouble. Looks like the hamstring. Just playing any more part in this game.
Max Montgomery wearing 16 there to earn his first blue, as is Daniel Das wearing Cambridge blue, and there's the big hit coming in from Hughes. Again, trying to put May on that outside shoulder, and the Oxford defensive pattern working so effectively yet again, as it has done throughout the entire match pretty much. So Basil Strang is onto the pitch as predicted to replace Matt Yanni. Strang winning his first cap. There's Yanni getting the congratulations from his teammates, and deservedly so. He's had a good strong game, the Oxford 13. It's interesting, of course, Oxford holding the same front row line, and a completely new mix now for Cambridge. Andy Key, in fairness, did say it was a tight call in terms of his 6 front row forwards, and felt they were all pretty much of matching quality. Well, now numbers 16, 17 and 18 in light blue shirts have to prove what they're about.
The experience counts for a lot here, and you can see just the benefit 12 of this Oxford side played in this fixture last year. You can see that experience coming through. They've handled the occasion that little bit better.
Messon releases Edgerton. Edgerton trying to dance his way out of the attention of Charlie O'Sullivan. You see him wearing 19. Another man in education, looking to be a headmaster, much like Toby May is. We talk about what they give up. Well, those guys get up at 5:30 every morning to get their training done before they head for the classroom. Jacob Taylor will be more than happy with his team's 70 minutes so far, much as he's disgusted with that kick. It really has been a most efficient performance from the Dark Blues.
On the line, lads. Full. He's gone.
Max Montgomery. So far when they come round to drive in towards the 22. Not the biggest of back rowers, but happy to play 6, 7 or 8 with plenty of energy in his place and play. And Jack Baker, another one, tries to get Farmer away. Again, tenacious tackling from Oxford. Here comes Baker once again. An 800 and 1500 metre runner, so he's got plenty of pace should it be needed. They need some pace on the outside from Cheritsov. No way through as that blue line sets up its stall once again to rebuff all invaders. Peck peels back to this near side for Sam Allen. Again, Cambridge with plenty of time and possession, but Oxford happy to soak up and absorb any real threat from them thus far. There's Daniel Das.
Away Blues!
Again, they work their way around the corner with May. Again, Cambridge looking to keep that ball moving, but not making any headway. And really, as good a runner as Toby May is, you don't want him having to do hard yards into the contact area. Choke tackle almost working for Oxford, but it's there once more for the light blues. Again, Farmer trying to keep things moving, but his offload not working that time, and it's Gus Jones who takes possession. And the clearance kick allows Oxford to draw breath. Sam Edgerton really has been a calming influence at scrum half, and that decisive try early on got his team into the right vein. Of course, when we saw him initially, he had flowing locks, and I'm not going to make any gags about Samson Edgerton, but it doesn't seem to have affected him what style he has on his head.
Well, it certainly hasn't affected his boot, because that was a very good kick out of trouble, the turnover, a mature punt downfield. Cambridge, it must be so disheartening to go through so many phases and passages of play, only to end up deep in your own half.
Oh, Edgerton's going again, gets the offload to Cullen. Cullen, hands off one, hands off two, and George Cullen goes over to add the icing on a very tasty Oxford cake now. Tired tackling coming in from the light blues, and Oxford making full use of it.
Well, the pressure just broke again, and it was Edgerton who provided the inspiration. Good following up by Cullen. Great strength, just brushing off player after player and going in. And a very delighted young man. And we are now in the realms of a record victory for Oxford in this varsity match series.
Yep, 35-3 was the biggest win back in 1909, I think. At Queen's Club that match was, and I suppose it's quite apt, of course, with the commemorations that we've been looking at today in terms of the Great War. Well, George Cullen looking to get 2 more points.
21.
Oxford's tally, and another successful kick is going to take the Oxford advantage up to 30 points. And James Wade, well, the smile is there, you can see the job's been done. Well, George Cullen will have enjoyed the day, let's put it that way, to put it mildly.
Yeah, well, he's had a good ride, mind you, from his pack. They've fronted up, they've taken everything that Cambridge have thrown at them, and they've ended up going forward on the front foot, offloading, really just taking Cambridge to shreds around the fringes. And Cullen's been able to just control things. He's managed the game very nicely. He's played his outside men often, and he's kicked his goals as well. He's clocked up a lot of points. Big performance for the young man.
Well, a great performance from George Cullen. But the award for the Alistair Hignell medal winner for 2014, as made by the great man, Mr. Hignell himself, is that man there, once again, 2 years on from his first win. It has gone to Oxford University's number 9, Samson Edgerton. And what a thrilling performer he is at scrum half. He has that capacity to set a game alight, and we saw it as early on as the 10th minute in this game. And from that point, his team have never been behind. So Cambridge desperately trying to get something out of these last 4 minutes. Well, they've lost possession again. And Lewis Anderson, another man, of course, who's going to make history. The first man to win ever 5 varsity matches on either side. It has to be said, previously there were 2 from Cambridge and 2 from Oxford. And Oxford now flowing through the moves. Andy McDonald with great handling skills to feed his skipper. Jacob Taylor with the leg drive. They're looking for a half dozen now, the Dark Blues. Cullen comes round, tired legs, can't get Cambridge back into position, and they have to watch as Gus Jones goes over for try number 6. It's one-way traffic in this second half, and elation in the Oxford camp.
Biggest win ever, biggest points differential ever. This is a history-making Oxford side, and the 5th Oxford win on the bounce. First time Oxford University has ever done that. Gus Jones, he's been excellent in the tight. He's always been pressure on at the breakdown, but just confidence in the ball. And they kept it alive. Lovely offloading game, and they just trusted themselves. Full of confidence. Quick pass from Cullen there. Gets re-involved again. Lovely offload. And from now, it's just patience and composure. Space outside. And 1 man extra.
Well, 2 tries in the first half, 4 tries since the break. And Oxford's composure and belief has grown and grown through the course of this final 40. And the big smile on Gus Jones's face says it all. Been a big year for him, for the 20-year-old, of course, world champion in New Zealand with the England under-20s and now once again on his third varsity appearance success, as Cullen finds success from the tee once again. And it is a scoreline that those men will be delighted to see.
I certainly don't think the Oxford coaching and management team would have expected such a difference in scoreline. There's been quite a gulf in quality this afternoon, as there was last year in terms of the pack. Certainly Edgerton was able to take advantage of it.
Taylor in as first receiver, as the dark blues bench gets an airing in order to get their blues. James Wilson there wearing 16, had to wait 2 years to come off the bench last year just for the last throes of the Oxford victory. And there's Lewis Anderson. Well, like it or not, Mr. Anderson, you have made history. And there he is, coming off to receive the adulation of his squad and his teammates.
Oxford emptying the bench, and again Ralph Weir, who was called up yesterday onto the Oxford bench, now taking the pitch for his blue, and there'll be no happier player than him.
Well, Lewis Anderson, what a special moment. No one has won 5 varsity matches, and he is now out there in front. Be it Cambridge or Oxford history books, Lewis Anderson is at the top of the list. Great moment also for Ralph Weir, wearing 20 for Oxford 24 hours ago. The captain of the Greyhounds didn't really know he was going to be part of this. Now he's got his blue. And there's a late call for Will Thomas. As Henry de Verker, the replacement scrum half, tries to get things moving. It's just not happened for Cambridge today. It has been all about the efficiency of the Oxford performance.
Stay on. Thanks, Mike.
McDonald, again, a tireless performance from the inside centre for the Dark Blues. Really has been so calm in the way that he's worked. The ball's knocked forward, and there is the full-time whistle. Well, the scoreline says it all. It's been an emphatic performance from Oxford. I thought last year we saw, couldn't remember quite such a severe scoreline in the way that Oxford won, but perhaps has that enhanced and beaten that, Tyrone?
Absolutely, it's a thumping whatever way you look at it. Last year you had the pack absolutely on top. Today it really was a 15-man Oxford side playing a lot of very high quality rugby right across the pitch and eclipsed their opposite numbers virtually every position. It was a resounding performance from Oxford. They were patient in the first 10 or 15 minutes without the ball, and Cambridge just couldn't do enough to get across the gain line, certainly couldn't do enough to get across the whitewash and the try line. And Oxford just stepped up at half-time and really just took the game to Cambridge. And crucially, in that final third, their execution, lethal, much stronger, much more confident, and the execution just far better than Cambridge's was, and they've come away with a bucket full of points in that second half.
We used last year as a point of reference at the beginning of the game. Was it relevant? Did it play into the psychology, do you think, of the two teams?
Well, I think if it did, it certainly wore off very, very quickly. You saw this Cambridge side, they've bulked up a little bit, but unfortunately it's got to be transferred into explosive power as well. A little bit more laboured in the contact and around the fringes in Oxford's pack. They just squeezed them, and eventually they just broke them. And once they broke them, the backs were able to finish off.
Well, let's get some reaction from the Oxford camp down on the touchline. The man of the match, Samson Edgerton, is talking to our very own Bill Latham.
Simon, thank you. Sam, 43-6, the most points scored by Oxford against Cambridge ever, the biggest win ever. Can you tell me how you're feeling right now?
Pretty incredible. The boys really did put in an absolute shift there. Very easy playing behind a pack as dominant as that. And it's just, I suppose it's topped off our season and feels great.
4 winning blues for you, 3 tries in 4 of those blues. Where does this one rate for you, Sam?
After last year, I wanted to come back and play once more in this and sort of redeem myself. And off the back of that victory and having scored as many points as we did, this one has got to be right up there for sure. Definitely.
You touched on last year. After your red card last year, Sam, how big was the feel of release scoring that try? Because it was a fantastic solo effort from you. Without doubt, it took a weight off my shoulders. I think I do look to run with the ball as a 9, and I thought, right, well, that's my run done. I can relax and distribute the ball a bit and sit back in the armchair that the pack gave me. So it did take a weight off my shoulders, and it did allow me to just distribute and let the other boys do their job. That's 5 in a row now for Oxford, Sam. That's never been done either. What's your secret right now? What's the secret to your success?
We've just got a really great formula for bringing players together and engendering a sense of team spirit and a love for one another, basically. So we go out there and it's an amateur game. We just play for each other, and that's it. No other incentives. We're not even that focused on the win. We just want to go out there and do it for one another. Congratulations, Sam. You were the Alistair Hignall medal winner, man of the match today. You will receive your award later in the dinner. Congratulations. Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe next year, mate. Maybe next year. Well done. Very well.
Enjoy it, JT.
This has been a presentation of Fox Sports.